Hello, love. Welcome back. Here we are, part two in our four-part series. And today we're going to go to all I like to call them tools of weight loss. And we're going to talk about the good and the bad. And just our perspective on it. And when I think of tools, I think of, if you want to lose weight for the long term, I think there are components, right? It's like you have a toolbox and there are different tools in your toolbox. And part of it is the mental part and then the emotional part, right? That to me is like the hammer and the screwdriver. You need both of those. And then you have these other tools that are out there, and some of them for sure can help. And some of them just keep you, right, depending on you, keep you kind of on that diet roller coaster. So, the tools. So let's talk about diets. Diets. Diets have been around for a good long time now. I can't remember now off the top of my head when the first diet they've documented, but 100 years, 150, 200 years, a good while. And diets consist of the food part. And right, it's a diet, right? And so, diet, the term is related to what you eat and how you nourish your body. And if you look back to early 1900s, it was all about, counting calories, and calories became a thing. And then as time evolved and doctors came into play and all of the things, then it was all about fat and low fat. And then it was putting certain foods together, right? If you eat this combination. And then Atkins really blew up and it was all about the low fat. And now, you have a version of that with keto today. And there's been many other things, from Jenny Craig to Noom to, I don't know, there's so many out there that, right, if you think of just even the big names, right? And diets focus on the food. And so I think they can be successful for some people. And I think I know me, I did Weight Watchers for many, many times. And there were a couple times that I had some success by counting the points and doing the things. But, long term, diets for me personally did not work. Jen, I'd love to hear kind of your experience and your thoughts on like the diets.
I'm like, if I had to list out my diets,
I
it'd be
know.
a long list. I've done all different sorts of diets. I've done the starvation mode. I've done the cut out food groups. I've done all the things. And for me, when I think about it, I think most diets for me have worked short term. But
Mm,
what happens is most of them, if not all of them, if I think about it, I was just white knuckling it.
mm,
There was hardly a diet that I followed that I did that I could do for the rest of my life and have success. And so that's where, for me, diets don't work because I was always restricting in some sort of way and white knuckling it. It just kept the belief in my head going that I shouldn't have certain foods, that I was
mm.
bad, right? The good and the bad. And so it just kept me disconnected from my body, really. I just relied on somebody else to tell me what to do.
Yeah, I mean, that's it, Jen, right? So the good is you might have some short-term success, which might feel good. The bad of it is finding long-term success in a diet is very difficult because one of the core foundational things that I believe is that whatever you do, you have to be able to do it for the rest of your life. And so when I think about like right now, there's a lot of things too. Like someone was just talking about like cut out sugar, flour, what else was it? Oil. I don't
Uh-huh.
know, everything really.
Yeah.
And then you'd have less inflammation and you'd feel good. And I said, yeah, I'm sure you would, right? If you just ate salad, maybe, I don't know, right? With maybe some other carbs, I'm not sure. But can you do that for the rest of your life? And I think maybe there are some people who can, but I think the majority of us, we don't want to live a life where we can't enjoy our traditional food, our cultural food. We don't want to. And so that causes a lot of mental stress because we have this idea that if we can just eat chicken and salad, like if that version of us would come along, everything would be great. And I think it's just a really unrealistic expectation that diets set. And I think, a lot of them are very complicated. You have to track all your food and do all the things and read all the nutrition, just a lot of effort. And I think for many of us, especially women, we have families and all the things. And so it makes it really, really difficult to do again long term. When I think of weight loss surgery, so let's get into it. I had weight loss surgery. I had this back in 2006. I know, it feels like forever ago. And I'll tell you this, I was very desperate and I wanted a solution. I just thought, I can't do this on my own. And I want to say this because I didn't start the episode and I wanted to say this. I have no judgment for anyone who uses any of these tools. I have no judgment. There is no shame. I understand the desperation of like, I just have to get this off. I don't care what I have to do. I remember thinking, like, if I could just wire my mouth shut. I think I tried out for Biggest Loser because I thought if I could just go away for 3 months, I've had all the fantasies about it. And so I made this decision to do weight loss surgery because I was at the end of my rope and I felt like I didn't know what else to do. And way back then, I mean, honestly, coaching, I kind of, Tony Robbins was kind of around, but I just didn't know about it, and I had done a little bit of therapy, but again, I wasn't getting what I needed. And so I did it. And so it shrunk my stomach. And, I think the good part of it, I think there are people who, if they don't lose the weight, it could be the end of their life. And so I think with all of these different tools, you have to balance that out. This is all a personal decision. I am not a physician, nor is Jen. We're not giving any sort of medical advice. We're just sharing our experiences and what we know from a coaching perspective. And so it shrunk my stomach. I lost a good amount of weight, over 100 pounds. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is it. Right? This is it. And I had some side effects for sure. Even on my journey, I was really diligent at the beginning. I mean, this is how it always goes, right? I followed everything because I wanted to heal properly. I didn't want long lasting effects from it. But then over time, because I didn't work on the mental side of it, I was still going to a party and wanting the cake. I was still, when I was stressed, I didn't know how to handle that. I didn't know how to feel emotions. I didn't know how to change the way I thought about myself. I still saw a really overweight person in the mirror. Right. And so I had not dealt with the mental side. So over time, I learned how to eat smaller portions, and just eat all the time and eat all the things. And over time, right, my stomach stretched back out. And then, too, there were times, and anyone who's had weight loss surgery, that I would eat and throw up. And it was, again, because I had this need for this emotional comfort. I remember getting a McDonald's hot fudge sundae. And I was like, I just have to have it. And ice cream was like a no-go, right? Like very difficult on my stomach. But I needed it. That's how I thought of it. I just needed it. Oof, 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 oof. I threw up and, it was not pleasant. And this wasn't once, it was multiple times throughout my journey. And again, it was because I had not healed the mental part of this. I had not healed my relationship with food. I had not been able to learn how to find comfort in other things. And, I know some label as addictions, and I don't prefer to put labels on things, but I understand that. And, again, I'm not a doctor, so I won't do that. But I do understand the psychology behind that and the dopamine and the hormones and why food feels like you just need it and you want it and it feels obsessive and like you're out of control. So, Jen, I know you haven't had weight loss surgery, but you coach women who have, right? We have lots of ladies in our Transform Boss who have. Any thoughts or anything came up while I was talking about my own experience with it?
I mean, most of my diets I went on, I was in the same place where it's like, I will do whatever it takes. I'll eat chicken and salad only for the whole whatever for 3 months to get this weight off, right? And I will do it because you do get to a point of, the discomfort, the self-judgment, all of the things. And so I definitely can relate to that. But I think at the end of the day, kind of like we talked about before with the mental weight, like it comes back to being able, learning to manage your mind around it because
Hmm.
man, those thoughts just, like you said, I can't tell you how many times I went to a social event and was like, no, 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 I don't want cake. I'm good. And then came
Yeah.
home and had something else, right? Because I was so
Right.
worried of others' judgments. And so I just think that, it's understandable, whatever route that you go, of course. But I think at the end of the day, I think it's just knowing that there will need to be managing your mindset, the work put into that in order to get to a place where you're learning to no longer like rely on the food for emotional support,
Yeah.
rely on it for all of those things.
Yeah, it's so good, Jen. Oh, it's so good. So let's talk about the weight loss drugs. They're out there. People are having success on them. You hear a lot. I think it's relatively new. Like if you think about the last couple of years is when I really started even hearing about it. When you think about the GLP-1s and all of those things, it keeps the food in your stomach longer, mimics some hormones. And so I think some of the good pieces of it is I think it does help women if they can tolerate it, if they don't have the side effects, or if they can afford it, right? There's a lot of things with the pricing right now and then the availability of it. And so I think they can have success with it. Now, there's also the bad of it. The bad of it is you have to stay on them the rest of your life. And there are side effects. One, it's expensive, it's unavailable for many, bowel problems, pancreatitis. Also, if you've ever been on medications, a lot of medications, your body will start to adjust to it. And so then you need to either change it or you need to change the dosage. And so there's just a lot of pieces to it. And again, you need to always talk to a medical professional on this, but there is just a lot with it. And I think to me, the point is it's something that you would have to do for the rest of your life. And you have to make that decision. Is that what I want? Irregardless of the weight loss drugs, you still have to do the mental part. I hear, oh, I go on and it just, like I don't think about food anymore. And the funny part is, again, I know some people who are on it, and I've had real conversations with them. And I think at first it feels really good, but over time, that noise comes back because it's the emotional piece. It is the I want to comfort myself with food. And when you don't have it, because you're so full or you don't want the side effects if you eat, you don't have it. And then you feel a lot of anxiousness and, just what do I do? Because I don't have the thing. And then they, overeat and all the things because that piece does not go away. Jen, when you think about the weight loss drugs and what you've heard or talked to folks about, anything comes to your mind about those?
Just like everything else, it's a tool that temporarily relieves things, temporarily fixes things. And with most things, especially when we're seeing results, that excitement up front, we're like, the after effects, the side effects, it doesn't matter because we almost have our blinders on. This is my sole focus to lose the weight. And again, when I'm saying this, there is no judgment there, but I just, from things even I've done that I've taken before to lose weight, there was side effects. And I didn't care at the time because I
Oh,
just wanted
yeah.
to lose the weight. And then after you might experience side effects and the newness and all of that wears off and you're still left with yourself at the end of the day. And so whether the weight comes back or not, again, like Shannan has said, you can be in any size body and that mental weight can still live in the same way that it did when you are one weight compared to a larger weight, right? And
Mhm.
so I just think there's no judgment in picking your tool. I think whatever tool that you choose, I think go with your decision, look into it, know all the things, but
Yeah.
just know that one tool, no matter what it is just not going to solve for everything, right? There's
Yeah.
a plethora of things.
Yeah. And the mental and emotional part, that is the part that is not in any of these tools. It's not in diets, it's not in weight loss surgery, and it's not in the drugs. And so you have to get that support and that help. And this is where I think coaching is such a great complement of these things, if that's what you choose to do, because coaching helps you start to think differently and how to start. And I love therapy too. My husband's a therapist because you need those things so that you can start to heal. And heal sounds like a big word, but healing just means you are taking steps forward to repair things that you're thinking that is faulty and your relationship that you have with food. And it is just one simple, easy step at a time. It's not overwhelming and it's possible. And so I'm with Jen. Whatever tool that you choose or you've tried, I want to say this too, because for many of you listening, you've tried all the things. You're like, oh my gosh, Shannon, I've just tried all the things. And I want you to know I have no judgment and no shame. I too have tried most everything. And so I really do understand that feeling of being desperate, that feeling of hopelessness. And I just want you to know that when you start to change the mental way, you start to think something different, that amazing things can happen and that you can go and be on the path to losing your weight for the very last time. It's good. So next week, we're going to talk about how do you create long-term weight loss? And we're going to talk about the mental part of it and how to start to change the way that you think about food, how to start to find comfort in other ways. And oh, it's going to be so good. So you don't want to miss it. I hope you've just been following along and there is hope. And you don't have to have hope with all the judgment and shame and all of the discouragement and the fear of failure. You can let that go. Yeah, you're in the right place because you're listening to this. That I know. Uh-huh. All right, my love. We will see you next week. And again, if you want to come and start this work with us, go to jointransformboss.com. And Jen and I can be your coach. I mean, right? It's so good. All right. Bye for now.